Here I am. It's like January. It's about to be snowing outside. Snow everywhere. Still got Christmas lights out. And all I can think about is... Can you lift? See it? See the top? There you go. What exactly is the story here? Let's talk about the main characters. Me, Michael Manning, lifetime creative and artist from Western Massachusetts, 35 years old, day job, always taught to stay creative by mom and dad, and discovered love for collage art and magazines while sharing a room with my stepbrother. So that's the main character. Secondly, what does the main character want? What is their goal? To travel, meet people, make new artist friends, most importantly, to relax and to listen to others' stories, artist stories, create stories of my own, learn some French, make something that will last forever. Thirdly, what is stopping the main character? What are their obstacles? Age, job, money, fear, society, time, himself. What does the main character do about that obstacle? What is their response? Sell shirts and prints and search for a day job, apply to art shows and galleries, art parties, live at home, rearrange my house, save money, sell collages, start a YouTube channel, start an everyday challenge, travel to Miami, buy an art studio, lose an art studio. Just do everything you possibly can while saving money and staying true to your heart. And lastly, what's the outcome or change for the main character in this story? Deliver a one-of-a-kind work of art to a permanent collection to the highest rated artist residency in the world. Boom, there's our story. Now, if you want to know more about the artist residency, you can go to any one of these YouTube videos and channels that I also subscribe to, who have also had their time at Chateau D'Orquevaux. These are the best YouTube videos from the past residencies. I'm gonna show them here some way. Honorable mentions would be Stephanie Scott. Art Thou has a good introductory YouTube video about it. Shelby is what I wrote down here. I think there's something else there, but shout out to Shelby. Jessica, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, Liber, Emma Klein, and Fiona C. You can go to any one of these other videos and get some concise answers about questions you might have if you're thinking about going. I, in particular, here want to show you how it feels to be there and in Paris and to connect with D'Orquevaux experience. So sit back, listen, or watch along with me, Michael Manning. Please consider subscribing to this Everyday Manning YouTube channel. Thank you for your time. It's a beautiful day here. Flawless. No clouds. No clouds at all. Before you know it, I will be in So, we start our journey in Paris. Excuse me, before that, we start our journey in where I'm from, Boston, Massachusetts, Logan Airport, headed to Paris. I left on the 4th of July. I got to Logan Airport around 2:30, and I immediately realized I had bought the wrong bag It was way too heavy and had no wheels. Everyone at the airport had bags with wheels. So get yourself a bag with wheels. The only benefit to having a bag that doesn't have wheels is the fact that you can shove most of those handbags into the compartments easier. Most wheel bags they'll have a case and they'll be less flexible to picking up and shoving stuff into them. But save yourself some trouble. Again, I knew I was traveling with a heavier bag because I was staying for a longer time than my parents were. My parents were going to leave. My parents were going to spend 7 days in France, and I was going to spend, if I add Paris, I was going to spend 2 plus 26 days in Paris, France. So we hung out in Logan Airport for quite a while, and then at 7:30 we left Logan, and we were in the air. By 7:30 we were in the air, flying to Paris. Day 1, July 5th. We land in Charles de Gaulle Airport at 8:30 a.m. French time. So we spent 6 hours in the air on our flight. You cannot see the Eiffel Tower from everywhere in France. That is just a disclaimer. I was disappointed by that. You definitely cannot see the Eiffel Tower from this airport. My first note here is culture shock. You're a foreigner now. Everyone speaks good English at the airport, but you hear French more and more and more the further you walk away from that airport. You enter the airport, it's stunning, it's gorgeous. You can see in the distance there's space to walk, there's things to eat. So you're just excited, you're thinking you're gonna get to the street pretty quickly. Make sure you stop at the first restroom when you get off the plane and you're in France, because if you miss that restroom and you're expecting to get to the street quickly, you're going to hit, if you have a regular passport like my dumbass, you're going to enter the longest line you've ever been in, and you're just going to zig and zag. Get into the global one, boom, you go down a different line, which goes along that. You pass all those people just stuck there we must have been stuck for a very long time, like an hour, holding heavy bags after just been on a flight all night, whatever. So get a global passport, Google it, YouTube it, figure it out what it is, pay the money for it. It is worth getting. I'm gonna get one as soon as I can. Anyway, we get through Border Patrol. We got an Uber to our hotel, which was La Meridian, which was kind of near the Arc de Triomphe. And I saw my favorite type of art, graffiti, on the way there flying through Paris. by all the walls on the highway. By the way, people are flying on their motorbikes. They do not care. I mean, they make it look like a lot more fun than the States, like on a motorbike. But there's so much graffiti. I'm working on a graphic novel right now about my love for graffiti. I love graffiti, and there's so much of it in Paris. Anyways, we got into our room around 11:45 a.m., which doesn't sound like that long getting from the airport to the hotel, but it is so long when you're carrying heavy bags. My shoulders were kicking. Okay. We get to this dope hotel. We nap for about an hour. Then we went to Le Congres, I believe, for our first French brunch. My first impressions was, tried out some of my French, ours, very simple stuff. All the menus are in French, so be prepared for that. But funny, I went on this trip to get away from my phone, and I cannot tell you how incredible it is to travel nowadays with AI. Okay, translate everything. You can take pictures of French and translate it and read it and be like, oh, that's pizza. Oh, that's French fries. Oh, that's a croissant. That's that. Amazing. We had our brunch. We took our pictures. Hold on. And then the adventure really began. We went immediately to the Eiffel Tower and saw the crowds of tourists and people and realized, like, I'd done what everyone else was going to do, but it was worth it because we realized how late the sun stays out in France, and we wanted to make the most of this trip. There's highlights throughout this trip, but this low-key was the best part. I have a favorite part, a personal favorite part coming up, but this low-key was the best part, the very first thing we did. We went to the Eiffel Tower, and then right down, the Eiffel Tower is huge, but if you go down these stairs that are by the Eiffel Tower, you can get to the River Seine cruise, which there's plenty of. It was a beautiful summer, like the sun is starting to go down, but it was stunning. There were so many people along the river dancing and drinking and having weddings and dates and blowing kisses to us on the boat and waving to us while classical French music was being played over the speakers and the sun was setting. This river cruise, we could see Notre Dame, Tower Eiffel, which is what they say in France. It's not the Eiffel Tower, it's Tower Eiffel. But let me tell you this, everything that you look at on that river cruise has a long legacy and a deep story to it. I guarantee you that. Even the bridges that you go under in the heart of Paris. And you're looking around thinking, who built this? Why can't everything look this good? Any one of the things you look at could be the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th wonder of the world. And the deeper I went into Paris, the more you'll see this feeling come back up. It's like I'm looking at the French pyramids. There's French pyramids over here. Everything's made of stone, like more French pyramids all around you. On this cruise, you can also see Le Louvre, aka the Louvre. As I said, so much more. We went back to the hotel area and actually did the most American thing you could possibly do. We got McFlurries at McDonald's because I was right by our hotel around 9:30. Good catch. And then I posted my everyday late because I had done so much walking with so many steps. By the way, just in the interest of time, a lot of my meals that I had were at the hotel. Thank you, La Meridian, and for the breakfasts in particular, we had breakfast. But I'll show you guys the everyday. The everydays were something I was doing before my Orquevaux trip, but they are a good way to catch the vibe of the day. So here's the everyday for day one in Paris, France. Comments about this everyday are just that I was tired and I posted it really late. So it says, oops, Blâmer la France, which is blame France. I was tired. This story is not just my trip to France. It is a celebration of 2020 as a decade of change, growth, and self-actualization for me and for everyone. I, I think that's the best way to say it, is that 2020 is a decade, the 2020s, right? I wanted to create something that captured the zeitgeist of the trip and the feeling of the trip, while also incorporating a bunch of souvenirs that I collected from the trip. In particular, I keep on coming back recently to this word archaeology. There's an archaeology to my art. I'm really sticking legit souvenirs that I capture that are usually made of paper into the magazines themselves, into the canvas itself. January 2025, I really was accepted and really started to prepare myself to go. So that was a long time coming. But Orquevaux was always a year away in my mind. Life got pretty crazy this year, 2025, end of 24. And it made me a lot more appreciative of the sense of peace, the quality of the trip. I'm happy I did Paris first and then went to Orquevaux. It gave me time to adjust with my jet lag and to kind of get over the culture shock. There wasn't a theme for the artist residency or for what I needed to make. I knew I was going to create something that would live in their permanent collection. So I was excited for the serendipity to take shape of the trip. What am I going to discover there? I was excited to make something that I could only make because I went to France. Something that I wouldn't have made by staying at home. Was this a life-changing journey? The answer is yes. I had already met with a travel advisor and figured out how to do Paris, where to stay in Paris, what can you do in 4 days in Paris. I had already printed out all this stuff to pack, right? Like lists on lists on lists, what I had been packing, from clothes to toiletries to electronics to medication, making sure I had the tickets to all the museums. And I packed a box of art supplies just in case. I wasn't sure exactly what the art store situation was, if there was one close, but I did shipped it to Orquevaux, checking out all the train times, departing and leaving, because I knew to get to Orquevaux, I wasn't going to take a train, but to leave, I was. So I'm printing out all the times, just getting it out of the way, just so it's like the tickets are bought. The last day I go, I'm just going to hop on that train. Chateau D'Orquevaux. They will send you these 2 very intricate travel handbooks. So there's a travel handbook. I think they're always changing stuff. So subject to change for the record. However, I was sent a residency manual, which went over the bonfires, the movie nights, the live drawing opportunities, the writer's studio, and then the end of our stay, the open studios, the studio, departure information, frequently asked questions, and on it goes. So they prepared me very, very professionally, dedicatedly. I do start off by saying, I'm not going to wait to the end to say, first off, thank you, Ziggy and Beulah, and Clemence and Antoine, and everyone was working at the chateau. They're just so hard working and kind people. So I just want to start by saying that. Thank you guys. And I felt pretty prepared to start my journey headed to Paris, France. July 6th, day 2 in Paris. We had breakfast at La Meridian. Then we went to the Louvre in the rain around 9:30 a.m. So here's my Louvre story. We tried to get in around 9:50 because I think our time was 10 a.m. And we immediately got in line and failed getting in. They said, you don't have the QR code. So good luck. We panicked, admittedly, for a little bit, thinking, oh, we don't have what we need to get in. But thank you to our travel advisors. We called them and they immediately sent over our QR code. We showed it to the son of a gun who turned us away in the rain, and he led us through the line. We felt so ecstatic. It was scary to have the rug pulled out from under us for a little bit, and then to get through that entrance, like me, mom, and dad looked at each other and said, yes! We like, it made the Louvre much more exciting. We enjoyed La Louvre for a few hours. We walked into a huge room of statues pretty immediately. I have always admired neoclassical sculptures the most. So again, I'm in Paris, France, not to see the Mona Lisa, but to find all the evidence I can of Denis Diderot. So I'm talking to mom and dad who say they want to see the Mona Lisa. They want to see Winged Victory. They want to see these major things, right? And I'm just looking for Denis Diderot. Who knows who Denis Diderot is? All right. You will after you see this video. But we just end up, we just said, let's do it. Let's just ride this roller coaster. And we went into this dope room and spent like an hour there just looking at all the cool statues forever. All just so majestic and epic. And I started to feel like I was onto something. Like, don't wrap your head around it until you actually freaking go. It's pamphlet doesn't do it justice. Layers of this thing. Decades and centuries worth of different styles of art. It's just so stunning. After a very long time of exploring all these enormous sculptures and paintings, I cannot tell you how big the paintings were. And you might never know until you go, again, because there's paintings on the ceiling of every room in the Louvre, and they take up the entire ceiling. And the ceiling is, I'm going to assume that everyone watching this has been to school. Think of the biggest room in your school, the biggest hallway, the cafeteria, the auditorium, whatever it is. Imagine that, and imagine if someone painted in oil paint like a new radical imaginative version of like the Last Supper. All the rooms have these enormous mural-sized oil paintings that are the best oil paintings you'll ever see. After hours of that, okay, we started to narrow down where Denis Diderot's portrait might be. And we found him at 12:30. So there's plenty to do, right? 12:30 is when we found Denis Diderot. Then around 12:30, the Louvre gets really crowded. And you start to feel the heat, all right? Like, rain had gone away at this point, and now just the proximity of all the people and the sun coming out, then the Louvre starts to kind of get hot. So we left and we walked for a very long time out of the crowded museum. We're still not out of the museum yet, okay? Got lunch, and we were out by 2 p.m. It took us that long to get out, okay? Anyways, we got outside, we took a breath. We said, oh my God, I can't believe we just were in the Louvre. And then we walked to a thing that was unique to Paris at that time, the Olympic Blimp, which is in the gardens in front of the Louvre. The Olympics had happened the summer before we were there, but it was such a popular thing that people enjoyed that they put it back just for us. So that was cool. The rain came back once we found a Caribbean parade festival just in time for my Haitian guys. Shout out to Haiti. You guys had like the lit part of that festival, that little thing. So the rain really started to come down, unfortunately, and we got in an Uber as soon as a huge clap of thunder rang out over us around 3:15. We went back to the hotel and we took another nap. Went back out and walked in the sun around 7 p.m., knowing that there'd be plenty more to do the rest of the day once the storm kind of passed. We ate by the Arc de Triomphe, which again is also like, if you don't ever get to see the pyramids, being able to see the Arc de Triomphe is pretty darn close. Like, how was it built? Who built this? It was pretty close to La Meridian where we stayed. We walked there. And we spent a good amount of time there, just like looking at this thing in awe. Again, it's the size of probably, I don't know, a 6 or 7 story building here in the States. And it's all dedicated to Napoleon, which is one guy. Like, okay. Then I did my everyday, and this is a collection of French words and how to pronounce them. I still cannot for the life of me guess what shoons is. Apparently that's not a French word. To my knowledge, it was me trying to demonstrate how to pronounce the show and chaumont, but that wraps up day 2 in Paris, France. Why go to France? You're not French. Who cares about Denis Diderot? Denis Diderot was the editor of the first encyclopedia. He was an author and a poet who loved art. He's also the namesake of the artist grant I won to help cover the cost of my art supplies at the chateau. He, along with his friends such as Voltaire, challenged the church and the king's monopoly on power and knowledge at the time. What was first referred to as the Encyclopedia was known as a rational dictionary for the arts, sciences, and crafts. It also promoted the scientific method of observation and not blindly following the teachings of the church, and this in turn would become an allegory for modern-day philosophies. Next, let me say I thought this would be about the legacy of Denis Diderot, the editor of the first encyclopedia. As well as learning about the story of Denis Diderot, I wanted to learn about the stories of all the artists who I'd be spending this residency with. Just because I didn't know much about Denis Diderot, that did not stop me from spending 4 days looking for signs of Denis Diderot around Paris, France, before I got dropped off by my parents at the stairs of the chateau. Thirdly, France is France. I've always been told, oh, you would love France. Oh my God, you would love France. So I went to France, guys, as my first artist residency, my first major artist residency. No, it was legit like my first artist residency. It is a place to deep dive into your creative work and have no interruptions. Day 3, my favorite part of the trip, my personal favorite part of the trip, the Pantheon. We'll get to that and we'll build up to that, but that was my personal favorite part of the trip, and it was what I saw there that I ended up using as my inspiration for my permanent collection art contribution at Chateau D'Orquevaux. So, for pretty much anyone viewing this, I cannot recommend the Zen cruise enough. Do a cruise on that river. It's France, baby. But low-key next, my personal favorite, go to the Pantheon. If you're an artist, go to the Pantheon. It is like a spiritual experience. We woke up on day 3, and we first stayed at La Meridian, then we went to Notre Dame. It had been 99% restored and opened to the public, but it was raining and it was crowded. We weren't allowed to go up to see from any type of view from any of these places. Apparently because of the rain. I don't know if it would have been open to the public if you could go to like a ledge in Notre Dame or something, or oversee, like some stairs or something. But then we went shopping around Notre Dame, and I got this Paris, France sweatshirt. I wear this all the time. It's all black. I guess you can't see it too well, but it says Paris there. And we went to souvenir shops, and we bought a bunch of little things like this stringed backpack. I bought this. This is area where I bought little Eiffel Towers for my friends and other little trinkets and thingamajigs. Then we went to the University of Paris's campus and walked along that. And getting closer to the Pantheon, I had this feeling. It happens when you least expect it. I was so inspired by everything that I had experienced up to this point, and I was looking and listening to the spirit of serendipity. Then we got to the Pantheon. Now, in preparation for D'Orquevaux, I was looking at images on Pinterest and doing kind of neoclassical and art drawings on my iPad. And I came across something before I got to Paris where I said, okay, I want to visit this. But inside the Pantheon is this stunning Denis Diderot memorial. Which reads, the Encyclopedia prepares the idea of the revolution. First I had thought I had gone to the Pantheon just to see that memorial. This was kind of the second thing seen dedicated to Denis Diderot. However, I did not realize that just around the corner from that memorial was another work of art asking to be discovered. I saw this statue by Paul Landowski. It made me think about, again, this just feeling of who built the chateau, who built Paris, who makes the things that provide us the shelter for having a human experience. The fact that these two Atlas figures were kind of looking down at me, and the idea that so many people have come before me and inspired the people that I do know about, like Monet or Picasso. There's a destiny and a feeling of being a part of this random collage of culture. And I felt it was a spiritual experience for me, honestly. Standing at the foot of the statue, I felt very overtaken with purpose for why I'm an artist, why I chose the path of an artist, and the importance of what I'm right now trying to do, what I get to do. So then we left the Pantheon and we ate at lunch for a bit, and I couldn't stop talking about the statue. I couldn't stop talking to mom and dad and saying, I think this is what I'm going to make. I think I'm going to make my own version to the statue. Especially after this point, I wanted to get to work and like really making art. You know what's really cool about this statue too is I see a face in it. I think that the two Atlas figures represent both hemispheres of the human brain. His hand is holding up what would be called the frieze, and that's the nose. And then the robes that the men are wearing are kind of like the beard figure. If you squint your eyes, you can see it. And that's what it felt like to me. It just felt like the face of... And then the frieze they're holding is his brain, the memory. I immediately started, whenever I could during this trip, I would be on my phone learning about Paul Landowski and realizing the fact that he also created Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil, which got me even more excited. We were talking about that. We went to the Luxembourg Gardens once the sun came out and the rain cleared. And then we walked to our third Denis Diderot artwork in Paris. There was a statue that was pretty close by the Luxembourg Gardens. We went back to the hotel, we napped again. Then we decided to do a night trip in Paris. We went out to Sacre. I'm sorry, that's the best I can do, guys. We went to the top of that dope hill at night around 10:45. And we walked by a venue where Brandy Carlisle was actually playing at the bottom of those stairs at Sacre. And then we went back to our hotel and tried some weird sour candies and flavors. I did, at least. sourdough. I'm not gonna finish it, but I could. I did it. Taste it tastes like spring. No, not bad at all. And I drew a very quick rendition of the statue just to commemorate the fact that I think I found what I came here for on day 3 already. So again, I feel good. I feel prepared. I'm starting to adjust to the jet lag. Like I feel like I'm developing a routine. Like, okay, wake up, first part of the day, nap, second half of the day. There's 2. It's like every day there's technically 2 days because you wake up, take a nap, sun's still out, wake up again, sun goes down, take a nap, right? Eat, sleep, nap, get up again, repeat, right? Like on and on. End of day 3.
DJ here, and also our judges tonight, Sarah Friedman, Sarah Parrish, and Kristen Malia. Thank you very much.
It was like October. I think it was October 2018 when I first learned about the chateau and everything. Boom, 2019, I get this puppy and start flying and writing down steps to get there. How to save, major events. 2019, right? 2019. Summer 2019 on the back. That's what that is. 2020 is on here somewhere. Hold on. Yep. 2020. It's crazy. COVID hit, so I started doing that again. Yeah. Yep. That's crazy. It was June 2021. I went for 4 days. Miami for 4 days. Bitcoin conference. Art Basel. It's a couple chateau references on here. 2022 is when, instead of doing this, I started an everyday challenge. So go to that YouTube video to see that. Then this should be 2024, 2023, not filled out that much for whatever reason. Then 2024, okay, it was my biggest year yet, literally. It's big. This is 2025, yeah, this 2025 all the way up until the end of June. Some empty space on this side because it's still 2024. Got a mid-year calendar, so it goes to 2025, right? And now on that wall, I have 2025 going into 2026. It actually goes from August of 2025 to 2026. July 8th, day 4. Musée d'Orsay, another huge museum crawling with people. Beautiful day, one of the best days of the trip. And giant mural-sized oil paintings and even more incredible neoclassical statues. You'll see what I made for my everyday was my first attempt to do what I should have done it from the start, which was to draw on my phone using Procreate. And so that's what you can see here. I should have been doing that from the get-go. I didn't want to take on my sketchbook because I guess that's is not necessarily encouraged at these big museums. I didn't even put a sketchbook in my tiny French bag just in case they were like, yeah, you can have this. I just went to observe. I went to a nice little restaurant where I discovered ginger beer, which has real ginger in it. I love ginger beer. That was kind of like my obsession to drink abroad. Then we went to Rodin Gardens, which is kind of statue park. And again, it was sunny and flawless, like 75. We saw the Thinker, and we walked in the back. We walked in the actual palace in the middle we went through. After that, we went shopping at the Gallery Lafayette, looked at some babe clothes, which were all crazy expensive. Then we walked back to the Eiffel Tower at night and saw the light show. I think the other one just turned on. One's at the top. The ones at the top just turned on. The ones at the very top just turned on. You know?
So yeah, just do that one. So at the top of the hour, the lights twinkle.
Oh, okay.
That's a half hour.
Okay. See if we can find like a party. Like people dancing or something happening. Are you getting it?
Is it doing it? That was so pretty.
Toujours ensemble jusqu'à la dernière seconde.
Testing. So I gotta be stewardess to do this in bunches just in case it doesn't record or capture the audio that I need correctly. So hopefully this all goes well. So repetitive. How many times am I going to say Chateau D'Orquevaux in this video? D'Orquevaux. Okay. Louvre Museum pamphlet to open. I can't even do it right now. I'm looking at this thing like, should we go to Richelieu section or the Dino section or the Sully section? You tell me, where do you want to go? You tell me. All right, try to find the Mona Lisa in here. You want to learn about Egypt? You want to go to Italy? Do you want to learn about Europe or Africa? Pick a topic, try to find your way there. Kind of, if that makes me look smart or dumb, I really don't know. But it was titled, put the title here, to the memory of the artists whose names have been lost. If you learn anything about Denis Diderot, I think that he would giggle at a sentence. I'm not gonna say he would giggle at a homeless man, but he was known as a prankster. He had quite a, I'm not gonna say that you're a prankster or something, but because you're not like, his independence and just his bravery to say what's true to him, that reminds me of, and there are characters throughout this story that will remind me of other pieces of my family. Again, the more I'm anticipating like getting to know the other artists. This is why we set timers, is to stay on task. Okay. Okay. So we've saw this. In Montmartre. I'm gonna get Montmartre. I took a short break recording this. You might notice that this looks a little different, and it's because, as a perfectionist in video production, that was kind of blurred out. This is Fenway Park. Had I thought about home while I was in France? No, I was soaking up this escape. So here we go for, it's probably still a little blurred out, but whoop-de-doo. Do I have that much video of it, actually? As cute as all these pictures look, well, maybe I won't include these pictures because they don't like being in pictures anyway, so whoop-de-doo. We took a lot of cute pictures, but what anyone would notice if I showed you the pictures of us by the Eiffel Tower was I was ready to be at the chateau by now. I could not wait to get away from mom and dad. As much as I love you guys, I have to admit I was anxious and excited, and just like me get to my studio and start meeting people and making art and swimming at that reservoir and doing the whole experience. Like, Eiffel Tower was great at night. D'Orsay, I can remember thinking I could have stayed in there another 4 hours, but I was ready for the next day for sure.